Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier leaving the theater. Just saw the movie, the new Indiana Jones film. I'm not even at my car. That might be helpful if I actually go to my own car, not someone else's. So yes, let's discuss this. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. First off, should you see it? That might be a tough one. I enjoyed it. No spoilers. This movie's getting a lot of bad reviews early. I'm not sure exactly why, but I have some thoughts on that. I liked the movie. So I guess I would say if you're an Indiana Jones fan, don't be afraid. This will not ruin the whole thing for you. There are some things I will discuss that I did not like, but overall I thought it was a swashbuckling affair that I thought was pretty good. Now, let's get into it. Let's talk about this fucking film. And I'm sure many of you have already seen the movie and you're just wanting to compare and contrast my wonderful thoughts to your wonderful thoughts. Let's put some light on the situation. Okay, first off, there's about 25 minutes of previews before this movie starts. I'm getting used to that. I am used to that. It's just the thing now. God, fucking God. You're just going to see a lot of previews because I'm sure that these other movies are paying to be advertised, or however it works, the studio system, however it works. Was there any good previews? Yeah, trying to see if I can remember any specifically. Not really. Off the top of another Mission fucking Impossible movie. Just, you don't have to look at me. I mean, you can if you want. I mean, but my audio is what's important, my voice. Let's discuss. First off, I'll say when the movie started, this is Friday night. So the movie was pretty much available last night, Thursday night. A lot of reviewers already shit-panned it. Oh, this is horrible. Even my buddy Michael AJ, sent me a private message on Facebook telling me that this movie stunk. But I said I'm going to go see it myself. And I'll make my own fucking opinion, thank you. No offense to anyone, AJ, or anyone else that didn't like it. But I'll make my own opinion known. So I kind of went to this movie like kind of excited to not like it. I'm like, okay, how bad is it? How much did they fuck this up? How horrible is this fucking film? I want to know. So I'm waiting for the movie to turn to shit, and I don't think it ever turned to pure shit, okay? But the opening sequence, and spoiler, the opening fucking sequence, we see a younger Indiana Jones. I'm not sure exactly the timelines on this thing, but obviously they took a young strapping actor and they, fucking superimposed a young Harrison Ford's face onto him. Technology is very advanced. You can see why the SAG-AFTRA actors are getting concerned about, fake actors or digging up actors from the past and superimposing their faces onto new movies. And you can make a new Cary Grant movie. You can make a new, speaking of which, River Phoenix movie. If you don't know who that is, that's the older brother of Joaquin Phoenix who passed away. And I believe River Phoenix played the young Indiana Jones in a previous sequel, if I'm not mistaken. Now I'm choking up, for Christ's sakes. I need a beverage. My new thing is I don't really buy the fucking sodas in the theater anymore. I used to do that pretty consistently, but now I'm like, I'll save my $7. I'll flew it up in the car before the movie and after, but I don't have I have this remnant of my pre-fucking movie water. Anyway, so the early sequence of him on the, spoiler, train with his face, it's like, okay, I see what you're doing, and the technology is really great, and if I didn't know that this was a different guy, that this was, a superimposed face on a different guy's body, or whatever the fuck, I would have been kind of like, I wouldn't have known if I didn't know, if that makes any sense. If I was just some person from a different world or whatever the fuck, no, not Lisa Bonet and Marissa Tomei, and Jasmine Guy, okay? But if I was just a person watching this fucking movie who didn't know about all these technology tricks, didn't know how old Harrison Ford was or whatever the fuck, I probably would have been fooled. But there was a few things that tipped me off. The voice, like the Harrison Ford spoke with a more grizzled voice. If you ever saw 42 with him and Chadwick Boseman as Jackie Robinson, that's like the modern, Harrison Ford grizzly old man voice. I mean, credit to the guy, quite honestly, just credit to him for still being the fuck alive. You know what I mean? So, you got that, and then it's like, okay. Then the next thing we see is the horse in the subway scene. I thought that was fun. I mean, I feel bad for the horse, but several takes, the superimposed face of Harrison Ford on the fucking horse looked a little bit off. I mean, it looked like the crop and edit, or something, like his fucking face was like coming off his head. I mean, if you saw the movie, leave a fucking comment like every other asshole on YouTube tells you to do, and like and subscribe, or whatever the fuck. But I mean, if you saw the goddamn movie, do you know what I'm talking about? Where his fucking face doesn't look like it's fully on, or looks like when he's on the horse scene specifically in the subway, it seems like the Harrison Ford face is kind of popping off a little bit. Now look, back in the 1920s or the 1930s, or even the 2000s, with like when they were first doing all this CGI shit with the original Hulk film, like there was 2 Hulk films within like 3 or 4 years of each other, and one of them, I want to say the first one, was that the Edward Norton one, had like really bad CGI, but the audience is supposed to be forgiving. I mean, you ever see that fucking movie is it A Trip to the Moon, with the fucking famous picture of the binocular, like the telescope in the fucking moon's eye? I mean, people watching that movie didn't think that that's what reality was. They just, the magic what if of cinema, okay? The magic what if of the theater. You, as an audience, you have to go along with the ride. Otherwise, just sit at home and read books like mine, A Distance from Avalon. Order it, okay? But in any event, let's get back to this movie. So those 2 kind of shitbag sequences were kind of back to back. Once we got through that, we see this young girl or whatever the fuck, 30-year-old woman in the college classroom. She's the only one with any of these answers, and it's old Professor Harrison Ford or Professor Indiana Jones. I did watch this YouTube video last night about Harrison Ford made a cameo on this old TV show. I think it's called The New Adventures of Indiana Jones, and I believe it was on the air in the 1990s, like the mid to late 90s. I forgot all about that show even existing, and apparently George Lucas was the producer of it, and he got Harrison Ford to come in for 1 episode. And whoever made this wonderful YouTube video that I watched last night was basically dissecting the whole thing, and in that TV series, there was a character of like a really elderly Indiana Jones, who was kind of like, the old man yelling at the clouds type of character. And I guess that's how George Lucas, or whoever the fuck, has seen Indiana Jones. The trajectory is that he ends up as an old, bitter old man. So this movie was kind of in that, if that's the way that Lucas sees this character going, this is pretty much on point. I think the worst part of this movie, in many regards, and I'll get into this, is Indiana Jones himself. Not the performance by Harrison Ford, but how he was written, what he was given. He's sour, he's dour, probably more dour than sour. I mean, that would be a good candy. Sour and dour, dour and sour. But he's dour because his son is dead. And I guess, here's the thing also, I skipped the Shia LaBeouf fucking round of these goddamn movies. As a side note, years ago I was trying to get some representation for my own fledgling acting career, and believe it or not, I contacted Shia LaBeouf's manager, and he gave me a few emails and basically said, they didn't give a fuck about me or my career, and said how great Shia was. And then Shia got fucking arrested, and I sent him another email, hey, how's Shia doing, asshole? So there you fucking go. But of course he gets a second chance, because all these fucks do. So let's go back to the review. So I never watched the Shia movie whoever the fuck, I don't know if Sean Connery was in that one. He's not mentioned in this one at all. I remember Sean Connery being in the third one. I think that was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You know, and I think they were referencing, like, you know, a lot of these characters, the friends and all this shit that Indiana Jones has accumulated. I did not go back and watch all these goddamn movies and prep for this one. I've seen them all except the Shia one, but I'm not going to go back. I mean, I think the last time at Disney World, believe it or not, Disney Springs, I think during the pandemic, I saw Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom on the big screen because they re-released it. And I think Raiders of the Lost Ark, at some point in the pandemic, they re-released it, and I saw that on the big screen. So these movies are relatively fresh in my mind, like a fucking daisy. But I haven't, you know, I didn't have a marathon of watching these things. And I give you fucks credit, meaning everyone but me. A lot of people can just remember things from movies and like, oh, this happened in this one. And I'm like, I don't remember all this shit because I see so many goddamn movies. I don't remember every fucking scene. I remember things from real life. Like if you were an actual person that I do in real life, I can remember all types of shit about you, your feelings about some bullshit you went through, my feelings on what you were going through, and all this other horse shit. But as far as these fucking movies, I can't remember all these things and all these characters. Now let's get to the bread and butter. What was good about this movie? Okay, what was bad? The Indiana Jones character had no sense of humor in this, or if there was, I can't remember it, and I just saw the movie. But that was kind of the whole thing. Like, if I came to this epiphany, I'm sure other assholes have thought this as well. You know, Indiana Jones is basically Han Solo in a fucking, you know, swashbuckler of a film. That's what I call these type of movies, these swashbucklers. Like, it's basically just Han Solo without Luke and Laura, or Luke and fucking Leia. Luke and Laura was from General Hospital. Blah, blah, blah. But basically, you know, it's Han Solo doing this shit. And it's like, cool. And he used to have all these cool one-liners. But now it's like, in this one, oh, my son is dead. He went to Vietnam to prove me wrong. Oh, gee, thanks. Now I feel like a great $1 million bucks. You know, my wife left me because our son is dead. Oh, thanks, Indy. That's fun. So the real, you know, superstar in this movie, Molly Shannon, is the chick. I mean, the woman, the goddaughter, who, when she initially shows up in the classroom, I'm like, okay, well, I guess she's gonna fuck Indiana Jones, and we're gonna have another one of these, you know, old school May, December, you know, Richard Gere, Winona Ryder movie romance things. But we don't, you know. I mean, I thought that they were going to have sex, and it turns out to be his goddaughter. Now, technically, but we don't go there. And I think that's part of this aging process, folks. Like, you get to a certain age where you no longer fuck the girl, you advise her, okay? So, sorry, Harrison, sorry, Indy, you don't get to fuck the hot chick, you get to advise her and look out for her. Great. So, you know, I mean, I thought that actress, whoever the fuck her name is, I can't remember seeing her in anything. I thought she was really good. She reminded me of some actress, you know, from the 90s that was, I think, on The Sopranos a little bit. She was in the Donnie Brasco movie, really gorgeous actress at that era. I can't remember her name either. But this girl, this actress was good. I thought her character was a tweener. That's a wrestling term. Like, she's in between good and bad. She goes back and forth. She does some nice things. She does some evil things. She's another one of these broken doll characters, like, oh, you know, her fucking godfather never helped her out, or daddy was dead, or whatever the fuck. But I thought the actress did a great job. I thought, you know, her character had some humanity. Like, she was kind of looking to get laid a couple of times. Like, she was always kind of eyeballing, you know, these extra characters that were just kind of guys that she was kind of like looking over and making little comments. And she had this kind of pseudo-adopted son, Teddy, which is okay. I mean, like, kind of the second movie, they had the kid that won the Oscar. Of course, we didn't know he was going to win the Oscar at the time, and, you know, whatever this fucking character was. But kind of that same thing, like, throw a kid in the mix. Kind of like they borrowed that from sitcoms. Oh, just throw an ethnic kid in the mix. That'll round out the fucking film. And, you know, that's what they do. That's my other big picture item for this, folks. Now, I'm going to take you down a tour of memory lane And this might get a little rocky, but bear with me. I think one of the reasons why people may not be liking this movie or being forgiving to it is because it's from a white man's perspective. Yeah, I'm going to play that fucking card for a minute. Go with me. I just feel like, George Lucas, obviously a white guy, Spielberg, a white guy, and they see the world as it used to be seen from the perspective of they're looking at the world from a white man's lens. And I'm trying to broker this gently. I'm just telling you that, in my lifetime, that used to be the thing. Like, that used to be the standard operating procedure. And I'm not saying that was good. I'm just saying that's what it was. That everything was viewed through the lens of Charlie Brown or, Michael P. Keaton on Family Ties. You know what I mean? Like, or fucking Alan Alda in MASH. Like, everything... Other characters were always kind of from the perspective of the white guy writing the script, and that basically manifested in the white character on screen. And yes, I know that there were exceptions, okay? I understand that. But I'm talking about the vast majority of your pop culture film and media were through a white guy's eyes. I mean, even these horrible, blackface characters were through the white guy put on a blackface like that. You know what I mean? So everything was skewered around whitey and, what the white man, thought of things and how he thought things. And if you look back at the early Indiana Jones movies, it's clearly all over those fucking films, right? So I think this movie was kind of just a return to form. Like, hey, we got to beat the Nazis. Like the Nazis are always out to get us, and it's always kill the Nazis. Like, that's like the one group you can still fuck with. As well, they should be fucked with, killing all these people, killing them horribly. So yes, the Nazis are bad, and we get that. But it's like kind of, I think, a lot of audience members now, the older we get, the further along in society, the less of the Nazi threat seems like reality. For people in my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation especially, the Nazis were a real fucking big deal. And I think now, it's like when I was growing up, they were kind of a punchline, like the Baron von Raschke and the AWA, or whatever the fuck. And they were kind of like a goof, like the Nazis were like a goof. Or even these early Indiana Jones movies, like you didn't really take TV or film Nazis seriously because they were just something to be laughed at or just an easy, bad guy, right? But then you start seeing things in real life as you get older. You start seeing that there actually is a skinhead movement. There's still a fucking Aryan pride fuckers out there. There's KKK still around. And then you get all these Proud Boys and all these other kind of militant groups on the fringe. And you're like, oh shit, this stuff is pretty real. So I don't know what I'm saying, but I just think that people, when they just see like generic, swastika brand Nazis, are just not, it's just not as an emotional thing, because now we got domestic terrorists and we got people storming this and that. And I was going to say storming the Capitol, but I don't want to lose half my fucking potential audience. But I think you get what I'm saying. Maybe you don't. Maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. The point is, I don't think the modern day audience gives a flying fuck about the Nazis anymore. You know what I mean? I think that it's just too far removed from some 20-year-old kid going to see this movie. I don't think he's going to fucking understand the gravitas of the Nazi threat. I just don't. I could be wrong. I could be fucking, Herschel Walker on this and totally wrong about everything. But I think I'm right, as usual. I just don't think that that element of the villains in this is connecting with the modern audience as much as they would like. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, Lucas, you can't go back to the fucking drawing board and say, oh yeah, let's drag out the Nazis again. I think the last great Nazi bash movie, if I'm not mistaken, was Quentin Tarantino with, what was that one called, folks? Help me out here. Whatever the fuck, the one, my friend in college, his father directed the first one of that movie. Oh, what am I thinking of? It was like El Domingos or El Desperados or not El Mariachi, but the movie that Tarantino did with Brad Pitt and everybody, and they kill the Nazis and they carve a fucking swastika in his head at the end. What was that movie called? Can't remember. Sorry. I almost had it for a second. And I can't look it up because then it'll kill my video. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck with my own knowledge, my own brain, and I can't think of the movie. And I can't Google it. I can't IMDb. But you know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I just don't think that... I think Lucas and Spielberg, as they're... I don't know how old these guys are, 60s, 70s. They're just... Everybody kind of gets stuck in their own, like... prime, and I think for those guys probably, you know, age 35 to 40 was their prime. So, you know, and when they were kids, the Nazi threat was still real, and I think that's like their go-to thing. There's a strange intruder coming up on me. So I just feel that you know, I just don't think it's working for a lot of the audience members, but I can still understand it. What else? I don't know. I think that the lack of humor in this thing with the Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, and I don't think there's much that, you know, Harrison Ford's a great actor. I don't think there's much that he could have done differently. If the lines are not on the script, you know, I don't think Harrison Ford's one of these I have to improv my way through a movie type of actors. I think he's doing what they told him to do. And if the script says that Indiana Jones is dour and depressed, he's going to give you dour and depressed. And I don't think that works. If, you know, like if you're trying to make a real serious movie, you know, regarding Henry, if you want to see that type of, this is not Indiana Henry. This is not regarding Indiana Henry and the Temple of whatever the fucks. It's just, this is a movie that if you want to bring out the swashbuckle, if you want to have this exciting, fun movie, then have an exciting, fun movie. And the whole thing, like, oh, we killed Shia. Now we're going to flash forward a bit. Okay, now the end. I think the end might be fucking with people too, because we've seen all this fucking multiverse shit. What's going on with all these time travel movies? Is this some type of predictive programming? You know what I mean? I just, don't ask me how, but I somehow got on a fucking podcast kick today, a YouTube podcast kick, and I saw good old Alex Jones from InfoWars, the guy that's got all these settlements and lawsuits, and he's bankrupt, and he's talking about predictive programming, and it's hard to take everything he says without a grain of fucking salt or a pound. But if you know what predictive programming is, if you don't, look it up, because I feel like, what are they trying to tell us with all these movies about multiverses and time travel and fucking... And now we've got aliens, and I don't know if you saw this YouTube thing, a real life thing with some fucking aliens last week. The whole world's going insane. What's going on here, folks? I don't know the answer. Do you? I don't. Do you? So there you go. Just a lot of things. So I mean, but the whole thing of going back in time to whoever the fuck, Archimedes or whatever the fuck. That was interesting, and what I liked about this movie, and I had my whole rant about Ezra Washington or Ezra Miller in The Flash and fucking the Spider-Man movie. This movie, what I liked is that they did do a tinge of time travel, but it was like not all over the fucking movie, and they made a really cool little loop of like, we brought this fucking... We discovered this clock from Archimedes' time, but then we're the ones that brought it back to him, so he had it, so that we could discover it as being from him. But it's like, well, who the fuck made it in the first place? If Archimedes didn't actually make it, if he discovered it, when you brought it back to him, well, we're in a nice little confusing loop here now, aren't we? So I thought that was kind of cool. Because they streamlined their fucking multiverse shit down to one core story. You understand? I'm sure you do. So instead of Spider-Man and Peter Parker and George Clooney and Michael Keaton and all these other fucks bouncing off the screen, just throwing shit at the fucking wall. Here's Christopher Reeve. Instead of all that horse crap, we've got a very simple, streamlined riddle of time travel and the dangers of it. And the characters realize how dangerous that is, and that's why our girl Friday there, the goddaughter, punches her uncle in the face, knocks him out, presumably drags his ass back on the airplane, is what we're left to assume, and brings him back to modern time. And now when he awakens from his slumber, of course, you know, the good guy can get shot in the chest and live, of course, right? He wakes up, he's got goddaughter tending to his every need. And then, boom, opens the door. Here comes Teddy and Grandma. And who's Grandma? Oh, shit, that's Karen Allen from the first movie. And that's his lovely wife. Now, I think she was replaced in the second movie because wasn't there some hot blonde chick in the second one? So why does he go back to this one? Who knows? But we got this Karen Allen, who was kind of the go-to girl for a couple of years. Was she in An Officer and a Gentleman, or was that the other one? That was Searching for Deborah Winger. But Karen Allen, I think, was the chick in Superman, the original Supermans. She was the Indiana Jones chick. She was kind of like the hot girlfriend in all these movies. Karen Allen. So here she is. And I'll tell you this, folks. This is when I start to feel like a fucking... okay, I'm going to be dead soon. You start seeing all these fucking characters from your childhood. You're like, oh, God, they're all looking old as fuck. And my whole life has been watching these assholes. Why aren't these assholes watching me? But you see all these characters get old. They got one foot in the fucking grave. You see Adrian going into the fucking casket and Rocky Balboa, all this shit. Makes you sad. Also, not to be disrespectful, but I was going to do a Darren Drozdov tribute video. I didn't do that, but Darren Drozdov passed away today, so that's sad too. So you can timestamp this, June 30th, 2023. I'll do a nice review or a nice tribute or something on my One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan channel, but Draws, sorry to hear it, man. So that's it, folks. So there you go. That's my big time Mike's Instant Movie Review. This review has been a chunk of change, 27 minutes, but subscribe to this channel if you want. Go to the upper right if you're on a laptop or you're on your fucking phone. Buy one of my goddamn books, or go to my fucking website, click some shit, buy some shit. My books are more interesting than most of the movies you're watching, by the way. A Distance from Avalon, Fight or Play Basketball, my artwork on The Foreign Object. I'm really pissed this eBay woman put me through the goddamn ringer. I'm losing money selling stuff to this stupid bitch on eBay. No offense to all the bitches out there, but this one was stupid. And so on and so forth. So there you go, folks. Mike Messier. See the movie or don't. But I say, yeah, go see it. Why not? You like it.